So one of the things that I feel uniquely educated on to talk about is soft censorship and online witch hunts. Of course, being the subject of these things several times, I've learned a lot. And I think it's worth cataloging some of the things that I've learned in a short video series. What I'm going to be talking about is not just the methods that some of these hate mobs use, but methods I've used to insulate myself against them, to help prepare other content creators and things like that. I want to talk about mass flagging videos, those people that engage in this sort of thing, the words, the nomenclature they actually use, the code words that social justice warriors use to get videos flagged, because they are extraordinarily well organized and they use the exact right language to almost always effectively be able to flag things down. This is something that they've gotten very good at, and me as somebody who's never even considered that, when I tried to flag a video that was a blatant terms of service violation, that Mana Leak video telling everyone to mass flag my videos, nothing happened. I'm sure 20 or 30 people probably flagged that video, nothing happened. Somehow my video making fun of a tweet was able to get taken down in 24 hours, and there's a reason for that. Things like mass flagging tweets. The Puritans online are very, very good at this. And by the time you're seeing this video, the great Twitter purge allegedly will have happened or will be in process. And if I survive it, if we survive it, I'm not a proponent of leaving the platform like many people, for example, on the alt-right decided to do. I don't think that's the right answer. I think having great platforms like gab.ai is a good thing, but simply leaving someplace like Twitter and not adapting and be able to challenge them on their own grounds is a bad idea, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But the words they use, the type of flags they use, is something that I want to talk about, and things that we can insulate ourselves against. Mass flagging Patreon. Many of my fellow creators, myself included, I mean, somebody literally published a guide on how to flag my Patreon down. This is something that they did to Lauren Southern. This is something that happens every day. We need to be able to insulate ourselves with that. And there's a reason, people ask me, there's a reason, Jeremy, why do you have 3 Twitter accounts? Jeremy, why do you have 4 YouTube channels? Why do you have maker support and Patreon? These are all things that I've learned over the years to help combat this. It's annoying, it's a nuisance, but because the level-headed folks aren't in control, we can either run away from it or we can deal with the mild nuisance to help insulate ourselves. And that's the method I've chosen, and that's the method that I want to talk about in this series. Blacklisting. This is something that is very common. It's going to be very interesting to talk about the way they use exclusivity, pre-release, pre-early access. It goes hand in hand with access level journalism. It's the people that get preview cards. It's the people that get flown out to promote events. These people are not people that are necessarily the best at their job. These are people that are not necessarily the ones in possession of the largest reach. They are exclusively, in my experience, the kind of people that agree ideologically with those in power. Terminology they use to apply extra pressure, financial burden to venues is something that we are actively dealing with in the free speech community, but it shouldn't be something that we just continue to fight. It should be something that we work together to learn how to insulate ourselves against. I had a long talk with the MythCon, Myth System Milwaukee crew. I became very friendly with basically everybody who's on the board for that. And they shared with me the conversations they had with the venue, which had to happen due to a coordinated attack by the Christy Winters crew. It's not necessarily, and it's easy, I think, for us to discount them. because nobody watches their videos. But what we can't do is continue to ignore the effectiveness of their tactics. Their tactics had a direct financial impact on the Mythicist Milwaukee crew. Now, fortunately, Sargon of Akkad launched that Kickstarter, and we were able to, as a community, fund that. But the types of terminology that were used by those on this campaign were very effective. These words like, I feel unsafe. It's targeted harassment. At the time that MythCon ran into it, they were calling people Nazis who were attending. One of the people on the board for the venue literally stuck their finger in the MythCon people's face and said, "You're not going to bring any Nazis in here, are you?" And to us, we could laugh and say, wow, how delusional was that guy? But I think it's more important that we look at and say, holy crap, that worked. And we need to do a better job when we have events to insulate those hosting those events. We need to work on having, for example, pamphlets and say, here, this will be part of the video, but I have a lot of thoughts around. Here are the things you might face. We need to get better about announcing the location of our conferences. I see what, behind the scenes, what Kilroy is facing. And they will undoubtedly suffer some hardships due to a small coordinated attack of perpetually offended losers. But we can either ignore it and continue to act like we're above them, or we can learn from it. We can learn how to protect our Twitter accounts. We can learn how to protect our Patreons. We can learn how to protect our YouTube channels and our Facebook groups. Because, like it or not, the current landscape puts these sort of people in power. And the people that run a lot of the social media agree with them. YouTube is kind of like the last safe haven for free thought, and even that is not above being manipulated. My channel, the channel you're watching this, sits on a community strike. I've been YouTubing for over a decade. I have thousands of videos across 10 or more channels, and I have never once in my life ever received a community strike until I ran up against social justice hate mobs, which brings me to a special announcement. Thanks to this hate mob, I have been asked to speak at Kilroy. And the people sitting on the panel with me are pretty interesting folks. The one person I can mention right now is the creator of Maker Support, a free speech Patreon alternative, something that I'm looking into as an insulation effort, and potentially something that would allow me to leave Patreon altogether. There's another person that's potentially going to speak with me that I can't say who they are, but what I can say is everybody's way more important than I am, and it's going to be an incredible panel. I've never done any public speaking, but I think this is going to be a good thing. I think we saw what Sargon did with This Week in Stupid Live. We have to get better at these things. We have to get better at organizing events, and we have to get better at activism, and we have to get better at public speaking, because not everybody lives on Twitter. Not everybody lives on Facebook. And if we want real change out there, we have to be able to bend the ear of reporters and use the right terminology and gain their favor. This is important. We can't just throw our hands up and say we're better than them, because we'll just continue to lose. And Maker Support, being on a panel with him and his history, working at Google, it's going to be an incredible panel. And I mean, I'll be there, but there's lots of huge other names that are going to be there. I'm excited about being able to meet a lot of my peers in this community. I'm excited. I know that, maybe none of you are just going to go out and buy tickets and fly to Phoenix to see my panel. I'm realistic about that. But at the same time, if you're there seeing someone else and maybe you like my content, maybe we can have a beer, play some Magic the Gathering, play some D&D, do something. I'm going to be there a couple days early. I'm going to stay a couple days late, because my biggest the biggest benefit of YouTubing to me is the connections we make. That's why we used to go to Magic tournaments. I can't do that anymore. But conventions now are like the new form that I can reach you. And I think that I'm going to be able to provide some value in, at minimum, keeping the conversation going about how we can best insulate ourselves against these types of attacks, but also educating ourselves on how to reach out to mainstream media. It's great to say they're dead, but they still reach a lot of people. And getting on their platform, in my opinion, is still important. So this is an important discussion to have, and I think it's going to be a fun one to have. And I wanted to announce that I'm speaking at Kilroy in like a fun, interesting way. The panel is going to be on soft censorship and hate mobs. So I'll be perfect to answer questions and talk about things. I'm going to be getting ready over the next 3 or 4 months to try and really provide a ton of value at that convention. And then as I prepare, I'm going to be uploading the videos here to talk about that sort of thing. I like talking about things that aren't Magic the Gathering drama, believe me. This stuff I'm way more passionate about. It was just too big of a deal to ignore, given how it affected me personally. So thank you for everyone. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have asked me to speak if, my channel was at 500 subscribers, and that means that the largest reason that I'm going to be able to speak there is because of all of you and for you sharing the videos. So I appreciate that. And we've got a new episode of Bully Busters, Bucky Bully Busters TM coming up this week, and some more fun. I've got a couple of videos I want to respond to, and I'm just very thankful for all of you. So hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I can meet you at Kilroy, and if not, we'll talk to you again real soon.